Good morning. I'm Jordan Slocum, and this is the Doane College Review on 90.5 KUTT. Every Saturday morning from 8 until 8:30, we take a look at what's going on around Doane College athletics, academics, and more. On today's program, we hear from assistant men's basketball coach Ian McKeithen, women's soccer head coach Amanda Mason, and Wendy Hine, the head of Doane's Law, Politics, and Society major. But first, we start with the men's basketball team and Ian McKeithen, who's an assistant coach in his first year with the team. We had an opportunity to talk with him about how he came to Doane and how things are going with the squad. First off, this is your first year with Doane College. How has that experience been so far?
It's been really good. I really like the school. It's just an incredible campus, incredible place to work at. You have a lot of the things that you need to be successful here in terms of facilities and staff and just the overall atmosphere here at Doane is really good compared to a lot of places that I've been, and so it's very exciting to be here and look forward to helping the men's basketball program moving forward.
How did you find out about Doane and about Coach Weeks?
Well, it's an interesting story. I was a head coach at a school, Benedictine University at Springfield, in Springfield, Illinois. It was an NAIA program. I started the program from scratch there 4 years ago, and the school actually decided to cut all traditional undergrad programs there, starting, which would be this year, including athletics. So last year was our last year as an athletic program. And so during the summertime, we had a lot of players that needed new homes to go to play basketball this year. Which was obviously a tough situation as we were going through it during the season last year. And so I ended up talking to Coach Weeks about a couple of kids that played for me that might be looking for new homes. And then we kind of chatted, although those kids did not end up coming here. They ended up at other places. But he stayed in contact with me during the summer, and his assistant moved on to a different school, and he asked if I'd be interested in coming to help. So that's kind of how everything kind of played out coming here to Doane.
This is the Doane College Review on 90.5 KUTT, talking to Ian McKeithen, assistant coach for the Doane men's basketball team. That had to be incredibly frustrating. Like you said, you started up that program there, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, we're done. It's like, oh, that's rough.
Yeah, it was a very. I've tried to explain it to a lot of people that I know in the coaching profession, and it's just something you can't explain unless you kind of go through it. Especially the timing of it. They made the announcement that they were shutting everything down. This would have been a week before our first game last year. And as you can imagine, there was a lot of, a lot of things to have to deal with, especially when it comes with the kids and their reactions to something like that, and all of the kids on campus needing to move on eventually and find a new home, and which is for some kids that had been there 3 years already and was settling into almost about to graduate, for them to have to kind of move on to a different school, and you're having to deal with their families and their parents, and it was a tough year, very tough year. I was very proud that we got through it. Most of the kids did not quit; they ended up sticking it out, and we did some good things. We won 10 conference games, which is the most conference games we'd won in 3 years there, and won a conference tournament playoff game. So we did some good things. I think it was a very hard situation for everybody, but we did a good job of helping the kids move on to good situations, and hopefully they'll all kind of grow from it and be successful. So,
again, talking to Doane men's basketball assistant coach Ian McKeithen. Now, after spending a few years as a head coach, what can you take from that you've put to as an assistant now?
Well, it's been a different change. It wasn't. It kind of puts me back to when I was an assistant, 5-6 years ago, and it's amazing just the different ways you look at things in terms of the helping the way programs can run a little bit better. How we can make some in-game adjustments, and then also during the week with practices and things like that. Coach Weeks has been really awesome in terms of involving me in some different things this year to try to help the program, and I think we've both learned a lot from each other, and it's just a different experience for me. This being an assistant again as opposed to before, whereas I've had some good experience as a head coach and can offer some decent advice. And also I've seen some scenarios and situations as a head coach that, where maybe you don't make I made a lot of mistakes as a head coach, which most guys do, especially when you're young, 27, 28, 29 years old. So the longer you're in coaching, the more you see and the better you get, so to speak. And like I said, Coach Weeks has been great and helping me, and hopefully he's felt the same way about me being able to help him this year.
Now you come to Doane and you come to a very tough basketball league in the GPAC.
Mm-hmm.
What have you seen looking at that competition?
Well, I'm pretty familiar with the GPAC. I played up at Dakota State University back in 2000. 2005 was my last year playing, and we would play a lot of the GPAC schools. We actually played against Doane my first year at Dakota State, believe it or not. Although it was such a long time ago, I have a hard time remembering exactly all the details. But we'd play Dakota Wesleyan every year because they were just kind of 90 miles down the road, and Mount Marty and Northwestern and Dort, so I've had a unique experience having played against some of those schools back when I was a player. And then the last few years as a coach, we've played, when I was at Benedictine, we played Dakota Wesleyan. A couple of years ago, we played Midland. And always been impressed with the GPAC, and not so much even just for their, how good the teams are basketball-wise, but how good the schools are. There's some very nice schools in this conference. All the facilities are very nice. There's great turnouts. You go to schools like Dakota Wesleyan or Dort on the road, and it's a tough environment, a couple thousand people at games. So it's a great conference, one of the best in the nation for NAI Division II, and it's just been fun to be a part of it as opposed to kind of seeing it from the outside, looking in over the years. Now kind of being it, it's kind of an interesting go-around for me.
Again, this is the Doane College Review, talking to Ian McKeithen, assistant men's basketball coach at Doane. Over the course of the season with this team, what areas stand out as most improved?
I think we've really improved defensively from where we were at the beginning of the year. I think we were trying to find some things that worked for our group, and that's how it is every year. With you're always trying to figure out what works, and sometimes it takes a little longer for certain groups based on, abilities or length or even experience for that matter. So I think we've come a long way defensively, and I think that's been reflected in how many, the points that teams are scoring. Whereas early in the year, teams were kind of maybe scoring. And again, scoring's been up in college basketball a lot this year with the shot clock going down to 30. But, we were giving up 90 a couple times, 100. And I think the last couple of weeks, I don't think we've given up 90. I think it's been in the 70s, 80s. And so coincidentally, we've played a lot better because of that. And we've had a lot of close games, and some we've won, some we've lost. But I think at the end of the day, if we defend at a high level and are aggressive, we're going to give ourselves a chance to win a lot of games. So that's been, I think, the biggest reason why we've had some success here as of late.
Last time out, the team beat Midland 85-82. What'd you see in that game?
Oh, that game last night was crazy. Great game, great atmosphere. We played well against them the first time. They have a post player he's probably the best post player in our league right now, and he's extremely hard to guard. We made some great adjustments. Coach Weeks put in some very good strategies here this week when it came to guarding him and some of our other guys. We also made some adjustments offensively that would allow our guys to be able to be successful. And in this game, unlike we played Nebraska Wesleyan close, we missed a couple of shots late to win that game. We also lost on a buzzer beater against Morningside on the road, and I think it was good for our players to be able to get in a close game like last night against Midland and find a way to get stops and to make a basket at the end to get a win. So I know the guys are very excited about it, and hopefully it kind of launches us moving forward against Dort here this Saturday.
Again, talking to Doane men's basketball assistant coach Ian McKeithen. Last question, what are the biggest keys you think for the team heading into this stretch run?
I think it's always going to be consistency with this group. Finding one. I think now that we've seen over the last 4 games, we've seen we've been in really a lot of close games. The Briarcliff game, we were up at half, and then they kind of imposed their will a little bit in the second half, and a very good team. But we've been in a lot of games lately where I think the kids have started to see, if they apply some of the things that we're trying to improve on week to week and daily, that the results will be there for them. And I think that's the biggest thing in college basketball with players is they have to be able to see with that what you're trying to establish in a program and on and off the floor. And when you see the results, and then that's where kind of the light bulb comes on, and kids start thinking, well, we need to keep doing this. We need to keep improving and believing in what we're trying to teach here. And I think, and then when you win a game or two, it kind of becomes addicting. You want to feel that feeling again. And so I think our guys are buying in and what we're trying to teach them, and I think that'll help us here the rest of the way.
That was Doane assistant men's basketball coach Ian McKeithen, and the Tiger men and women's basketball teams will be on the road this afternoon playing Dordt College. Again, this is the Doane College Review on 99.5 KUTT. Still to come, we'll hear from Wendy Hind, the head of Doane's Law, Politics, and Society major. As mentioned, the men's basketball team was victorious their last time out, winning on Wednesday at home over Midland 85-82. The women's basketball team was also victorious over Midland Wednesday, 75-61. On Thursday, the wrestling team fell in a duel on the road to Concordia, final score 24-15. On Friday, the indoor track and field teams had a strong showing at the Prairie Wolf Invitational, hosted at the Devaney Center. More details from that can be found at doneathletics.com. As for the upcoming schedule, as mentioned, today the basketball teams are at Dordt, women's tip-off at 2, men at 4. And on Sunday, the men's tennis team will compete at the University of Nebraska-Omaha. In other Doane news, the baseball and softball teams were both ranked number 1 in the GPAC Coaches preseason poll. The softball team received all but 1 first-place votes, and that's because you can't vote for your own team as a head coach. We now continue on the Doane College Review with an interview with Doane women's soccer coach Amanda Mason. First off-season is underway. How's it gone so far?
Good. We actually just got back into the swing of things since we just started up Tuesday. So the girls are on their own this week playing pickup on Wednesday and Thursday, and then we start Friday doing evaluations that we did back before they left just to see where they're at and if they've been doing what they should have been doing. And then next week we start into the swing. We have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. We'll be doing some training inside, and then Wednesday, Friday we're in the weight room doing training. So as of now, it seems like the girls have done what they should have done in over the winter break, but we'll see Friday when we get some testing going and see if they've improved at all.
What are the biggest things you're looking for from the players during the off-season?
Kind of just to grow and develop individually, technical-wise and strength-wise. Our girls didn't do much weightlifting before, so them getting some strength is going to be really important, and speed and agility is big for us, so we'll be working a lot with that, and really just individual growth over the spring is what we're looking for.
Talking to Doane women's soccer coach Amanda Mason here on the Doane College Review. What recruiting are you able to do in the winter months?
There's a couple different opportunities. Everything. So I was in Florida, which obviously there's outdoor stuff there, but over the winter, majority is inside. We'll be going to Denver next week, and there's an indoor showcase and an outdoor showcase. So there are a lot of opportunities to recruit over the winter. You just have to either bear the cold if it's outside or find a warm spot like Florida or go to an indoor showcase. So there's tons of opportunities.
How is it planning out looking at different high school teams? Because some states play their high school sports for soccer in the fall, some play in the spring.
Mm-hmm. So the ones that play in the spring, we'll get to go see them between my assistant Chris and I. We'll schedule it out between our training, obviously, and one of us, if it worst comes to worst, one goes and watches the high school game and the other stays with our team here. So in the spring in Nebraska, we'll be able to get to see a lot of high school soccer.
Again, talking to Doane women's soccer coach Amanda Mason here on the Doane College Review. This was your first year as Doane's head coach. Is there a difference between recruiting as a head coach versus when you recruited when you were an assistant?
Just the experience, I would say, makes it different, but you're recruiting, depending on what school you're at, you're recruiting a certain player to fit your mold, and, but as far as recruiting, it's all the same thing. You're looking for, obviously, the best player, and somebody who's going to be able to come in and meet their academic requirements as well.
What are the biggest things you learned after having your first year as a head coach about coaching in general?
It's just the experience, and you just learn every day. You learn your players, you learn yourself, and just finding what works and what doesn't work is the biggest thing, and taking your mistakes and making them positive for your future.
Did anything surprise you about being a head coach or about Doane or anything?
I guess just everything that goes into a head coach surprised me. When you're an assistant, you don't really see everything that goes on behind the scenes, so we do a lot more than people would begin to think. Even as an assistant, you don't know exactly what all weighs on the head coach's shoulder, if you will.
Again, this is the Doane College Review on 99.5 KUTT, talking to Doane women's soccer coach Amanda Mason. I've had a chance now to look a little bit at the high school players that are in Nebraska, at least. How does Nebraska compare to some of the other nearby states?
There's a wide range of talent in Nebraska. So as far as other states, I was from Cincinnati, and we have some really good soccer in that area. And Nebraska as a whole, it's kind of hard to get a lot of kids out of Nebraska, so that's why we go to other states to get kids. As a school, we get a lot out of California, and Texas, and Colorado. So just a wide range of talent, and sometimes it's hard to pull Nebraska kids.
Is it hard sometimes to sell somebody who's from, like, California on making the trip that far away for a school?
It hasn't been that big of a struggle yet. A lot of the California kids are willing to travel. Some ask, for financial, if we offer anything financially to travel, and we do to seniors that have been accepted into our school. So as far as getting them here, it hasn't really been a struggle for me, and I'm sure it will be eventually, but the kids who we have recruited out of California are happy to come visit.
Again, talking to Doane women's soccer coach Amanda Mason. Last question, away from the field. I understand you went on a mission trip recently. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I went on a mission trip in January, the first week of January, and it was with a bunch of athletes that were from the school I graduated from, Northern Kentucky, and we went to Dominican Republic and held sports camps with kids. We had about anywhere from 60 to 100 kids each day at a sports camp, and we did 2 sports camps a day for about 3 hours. Kind of just trying to get the faith in the community through our passion, which is sports. So it was a ton of fun. It was awesome. We got to see a different side of the world that kind of is eye-opening, and I got a lot out of it. I sometimes feel like I got more out of it than I could give just personally, but it was an awesome experience, and we already have a mission trip scheduled for next year. It was the first mission trip, actually, that they've done that involves sports. So it went very, very well. The kids were awesome.
And it's amazing with soccer in particular, with all the cultural differences around the world. If there's one common language that almost every country in the world can speak, it is soccer.
Yeah, well, it was kind of strange because Dominican Republic isn't as big on soccer. Their main sport is baseball. So at our camp, it ranged. There would be like 1-year-olds down there by themselves, and it could range from a 1-year-old to a 19-year-old. So we kind of broke it into groups by age, and we taught soccer to the younger kids, and we also did volleyball and basketball. And then the guys that were on the trip with us took the older kids and played baseball with them. So it was interesting that soccer in another country wasn't as popular, but baseball is their sport. So the one big thing was the language barrier. Obviously, they didn't speak any English, and I don't speak very good Spanish, so if I go back next year, that's one thing that I'll definitely work on is my Spanish to be able to communicate.
My thanks to Doane women's soccer coach Amanda Mason for that interview. We wrap up today's Doane College Review with an interview of Wendy Hind, who is the head of Doane's Law, Politics, and Society major, and she tells us a little bit about how that major works.
Well, the major is only about 2.5 years old. It was kind of born out of kind of historical context, really. Used to like long time ago. Used to be you would major in law even at an undergraduate level, and that kind of went away. And then on both the coasts, they kind of started introducing kind of this law, politics, and society major. Sometimes it's just called law and society, and it's really designed to kind of give a really nice combination of courses in the law, maybe like constitutional law or business law, combining that with sociology and economics, and having this kind of well-rounded discipline in order to think about law, politics, and society as a amalgamation, as a combination of things, and not just each of those in isolation. It's a great major for people who are considering law school or considering grad school in politics or sociology. It's also a great major for anyone interested in going into government or policy work.
It sounds like the type of thing that there's a wide variety of career paths that can come from it.
Yes, which is great, which is why law schools, I'm also the pre-law advisor at Doane, so I was a lawyer in my kind of past life, and law schools really, really shun away from a, quote, pre-law major. And that's because on a lot of levels, they don't want just people coming to school that are only this pre-law. They love having students with English majors, with sociology, with political science, with history. It doesn't matter your major going to law school. Yet a lot of students are interested in kind of some of those law courses. Also, with a pre-law major, what can be really detrimental to a student is they think they want to go to law school. They go to a school where there's a pre-law major. They get a pre-law major degree, and then they decide they don't want to go to law school, or they don't get into law school. And then you're kind of left explaining that degree for the rest of your life of why you have a, quote, pre-law major and never went into law.
This is the Doane College Review on 99.5 KUTT, talking to Wendy Hind, the head of Doane's Law, Politics, and Society major. Now, how did you end up coming to Doane?
Really by a really strange, unconventional route. I started went to law school, and right out of law school, ended up working for all three branches of government. I was a legal counsel for the Appropriations Committee for 3 years, and then I was a policy advisor for one of our governors. And then I worked for 4 or 5 years at the Supreme Court as the director of the mediation program for the state. And at that time, I was really looking after that for kind of a new challenge. I really thought I wanted to teach. So I went back to UNL and got a PhD in political science, and then was frankly lucky enough to land a job at Doane, and then be a part of this new major where I get to teach exactly what I love learning about.
Again, talking to Wendy Hind here on the Doane College Review. Do you see differences for students who are entering this type of field now? Because it almost seems like law and politics in particular are more polarized now than maybe they have been in the past.
I think we see that, we certainly see it in the news and the newspapers, public media, but I don't see it. I don't see it within the students. I find the students still very interested in learning both sides of issues, not polarized, but more. They may, even those students that maybe have a strong view one way or another on a hot issue, I find them still really, really willing to learn the other side, to really think about why they believe the way they do. And then my goal is for them to come out and be able to support their views after they've thought them through thoroughly from both sides of the fence, basically.
So is that one strength of Doane's program in particular, making sure that students look into every single issue with an open mind?
That's important for me. I don't know. Open mind is more of, I ask them to come into my classes with, I say, first off, I am not here to change your views at all, but I am here for you to understand why you believe what you believe, be able to support what you believe, and also know the other side. You don't have to believe it, but you have to understand where the other person is coming from and why they support what they believe. And then you've made an educated decision on your beliefs, and you also know how to support what you believe.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that understanding the other side of an argument can make you have more faith and more belief in your particular argument.
Exactly, absolutely. I think so many, and I think I was a victim of this, so many students or young people maybe believe whatever they, of course, the household you were brought up in, and so you believe a certain way, but you've never questioned or you've never really thought about, well, why do I believe that? And I hope that my students are able to really articulate and really have thought through then why they believe a certain way. And like you said, really, I hope they can appreciate the differences.
Again, talking to Wendy Hind on the Doane College Review. She's the head of the Law, Politics, and Society major at Doane. What are some of the classes you're currently teaching?
This semester are great. I love my courses this semester. I have a senior seminar, which is like the capstone for my Law, Politics, and Society majors, where each of those students get to basically individually pick a topic or an issue that concerns law, politics, and society for them to do a research paper on and dig really deep into all semester. Then I'm also teaching a course called Current Legal Issues, where just yesterday they were assigned to break up in groups, and they're going to have to debate the Cruz Trump issue of national origin, birth. And then I'm also teaching in a class called Women in Power, which is going to be super fun, where we're going to kind of trace the roots of women politically, legally, and socially.
When you look at Doane's program, how does it differ from other schools who offer similar types of programs?
Well, it's pretty unique to the Midwest. We did our homework and did look at a lot of schools on both of the coasts and really pulled our major based on best practices from what we'd seen around the country. As far as regionally, there aren't a ton of these programs in existence here, so we think we're really unique in offering it. In fact, I don't think, to my knowledge, Law, Politics, and Society is offered anywhere else in Nebraska.
Last question, Wendy. For anybody who is listening to this interview who might be intrigued by the thought of the Law, Politics, and Society major, how would they go about learning more information about it?
If you go to the Doane College website, put Wendy Hind in or Law, Politics, and Society into the search engine, I'll pop up. It'll pop up. It'll give you all the contact information you need. Please feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. Be happy to meet with anyone at any time to further discuss the program and kind of the opportunities that it might bring you.
And have you already seen, you mentioned the program's only a few years old, but already you've seen good response from students about it?
Fabulous. I think we had, maybe three to five majors the first year, and that was from students who maybe had already a political science major or a sociology major that could very, very easily double major, which is something we really promote with the Law, Politics, and Society program because it lends itself well to a double major, particularly in political science and sociology. I think we are currently up to 20 majors in 2.5 years, so very, very pleased with the amount of interest in the program.
My thanks to Wendy Hind for that interview, and that wraps up today's edition of the Doane College Review. You can listen to previous episodes online at DoaneAthletics.com. And remember, this program airs every Saturday morning from 8 until 8:30 here on 99.5 KUTT. I'm Jordan Slocum.